The following is a training module on how to build buyer persona-based sales and marketing campaigns. Have you ever been talking to a prospect and heard them say, "Now you're speaking my language"? If you have, or if you haven't and you can imagine hearing that, that's an incredibly powerful moment. The prospect likes what they hear, they understand what they hear, and it's a total buying sign if a prospect says that. Now imagine having a sales pitch so strong that you consistently hear that. And while that might be ambitious or might seem unrealistic, it is realistic to have a sales pitch where at least your prospect feels that way. They feel like they understand what you're saying, they like what you're saying. That's what we're going to talk to you here today, and you can achieve that by having more buyer persona focused sales and marketing campaigns. Now, this is actually a fairly difficult thing to consistently do because we actually speak a different language than our prospect. Our language is very focused on the products we sell and the company we sell to. Now, you got to keep in mind, if you're a salesperson or a business owner, you live and breathe the stuff that you try to sell every day. I mean, you could say that this is what you work on and you think about 5 days a week, 40 hours a week, but that might be an understatement. It might actually be more than that. When you speak about features and when you use certain terminology or acronyms, while it all makes crystal clear sense in your head, it can sometimes seem like a foreign language to your prospect. And your buyer speaks a different language. They live and breathe the stuff that they work on every day, which is the business they work for, the product they sell, the role that they have. So they have their own terminology, their own acronyms. You can improve your sales results by speaking their language and resisting the urge to speak yours. And this is what we're here to talk to you about today. We're going to show you how to create buyer persona based campaigns. What this will allow you to do is you're going to have unique campaigns for the different buyer personas that you sell to, so it's going to make it easy for you to speak the prospect's language. This process is going to make your messaging that you create more about them and less about you, so it's going to be more powerful. And because it's going to be in their language and focused on their business and their life, and we're here talking about building campaigns, so let's talk real quickly about what a campaign is in the way that we use the word campaign. A campaign is a set of talk tracks, talking points, everything that you say while you're trying to drive demand for a particular product or group of products when you're communicating out to a particular audience. Now, you could have one campaign that you use all the time, and this is what a lot of salespeople and business owners do. They say the same thing regardless of what they're trying to sell and regardless of who they're trying to sell to, and that's okay. But you can improve your results if you have a different campaign for the different people that you sell to. For example, you could create campaigns targeting different industries. Your product might operate the exact same way whether it's used by one industry versus another, but each industry may have different needs and different interests. Let me give you an example. At one point, I sold workforce management software. This helps companies to manage the time and scheduling of employees, and I could sell to manufacturers, I could sell to retail, and I could sell to hospital. Now, the product worked the exact same way. Tracking time that employees work, scheduling shifts, and whatnot. But these three industries had very different employees and different needs. Manufacturers had more union labor, more operational needs. Retailers had a lot of part-time employees and had a lot of peak hours, off-peak hours. Medical had a lot of nurses and skilled labor, different certifications, and a lot of scheduling and intricacies with always needing certain level of skills on staff at certain times. So there's different hot buttons, different pain points, different interests in these different industries, even knowing the product operates basically the same way and provides the same features and functionality. Now, you could go out there and just say the same thing and have the same pitch for all these different industries, but you can take your game to the next level, communicate more clearly, generate more interest, make a better impression if you have campaigns that are tailored to these different industries. We can actually take that one step further to say inside these companies are different departments. And so even if we're all only selling to manufacturers, there could be different departments at a manufacturer that we might be able to sell to. We might be able to sell to finance, to HR, to IT. Now those could be different buyer personas or different campaigns as well, but an HR VP is going to care about slightly different things than a VP of finance. So again, to improve your results, you can have that tailored message. We could actually go one step further to say once we're dealing with one particular department, there are different levels in that department we might interact with. There, could be a VP level, a director level, maybe a manager level. Now, even knowing within one department the needs are fairly similar, a VP of IT might have different needs and different interests than an IT manager. So again, depending on how granular you want to get, you could have different campaigns. Now I put all that out there, and that could look a little intimidating, and I want you to know you don't have to build buyer persona campaigns for all the different possible audiences. What you want to do is eventually you want to have a handful of different campaigns that target the buyer personas you interact with and are targeting the most. We also are a firm believer here at SalesScripter of crawl, walk, run. So don't let this overwhelm you. Just start with building one buyer persona focused campaign where you sell the most, and that can be your crawl stage. Walking is going to be to fully get that incorporated into how you work and how you operate. And then you could start to run by developing campaigns for those other buyer personas that you're either starting to add to the mix or that you launch future campaigns for. Now throughout this presentation, I'm actually going to show you some slides of SalesScripter. And this might sound a bit pitchy that I'm pitching the product to SalesScripter, but I really want to show you this for a different reason. And that reason is that I'm concerned that you might see this buyer persona approach as being valuable, but it's a bit intimidating, or it might look a bit cumbersome to either set up or to incorporate for yourself or for your sales team. And SalesScripter actually does a really good job of making it easy to set these up and then making it easy to flip from talking to one buyer persona to talking to another. And I wanted to show you that throughout this to ease your nerves and show you a path that you can incorporate this. But here's a screenshot from SalesScripter, and SalesScripter will give you a library of documents. Now, before you grab a document or when you're changing from one document to another, you can actually select the campaign that you want to access. So this is where you would be able to see a list of all your different buyer persona campaigns. So whether you're grabbing a call script or an email or a voicemail script, if you're shifting from one buyer persona to another between calls or between meetings, you can just easily click from this drop-down menu, and your whole library of tools will then change from the one buyer to the other, meaning your key questions, your key points to make all your scripts change to the content that's needed for the new buyer persona. Step one in setting up these campaigns is actually going to be to map out your campaign coordinates. We actually developed this concept of campaign coordinates, and it's sort of like if you're going to take a road trip and travel to a destination, whether you realize it or not from using a map or your smartphone, there are coordinates for the address that you're trying to reach. There's a longitude and latitude, and those coordinates help you to reach that location. Now, when we're creating a campaign, we also have a destination where we're trying to reach. So instead of longitude and latitude, our campaign coordinates are the product we're trying to drive demand for and the target audience that we're trying to sell to. Just as when you're traveling somewhere, you might not make it there because you might get lost, or you might end up deciding to go somewhere different, or you might get delayed and stop somewhere on the way. And the same thing can happen with your campaigns, meaning you might pick up the phone or pursue a prospect with one campaign in mind. In other words, thinking, I think this product might be a fit, or I'm going to try to sell this product. But during discussions, you identify that they're a better fit for a different product. And so you end up going in a slightly different direction. So where we end up is another story, but it's really good to have that direction of where we're trying to go when we're building our campaigns, when we're using our campaigns. And the first step is to map out all the different campaign coordinates that we might possibly pursue. And so this is a really good planning exercise, and it starts with the first step of mapping out the different products that you could sell, and then list out the different target prospects that you could possibly sell to. So these could be types of businesses or just businesses in general, could be titles, departments, industries. When you're done with that, you can end up with a matrix. A matrix with one axis being the different target prospects that you could sell to, and the other axis being the products that you sell. And the intersection points of all these lines are options to create campaigns. Again, I want to emphasize, you would not probably create a campaign for every possible combination here. I mean, first of all, you might not ever use those campaigns and it would just be too cumbersome. But this can be a really good place for you to do some planning on either for your sales and marketing strategy or your prospecting strategy, and to pick a few where you might want to build some campaigns. And then I would probably pick one which is your starting point to really get this strategy going. You would pick your one campaign and then you want to build out that campaign. So step 2 is going to be to identify the value that you offer that particular buyer persona that you selected. Value is the benefits that you offer to that individual. It's not what your products do, it's what your products help that buyer to realize. And so the important thing here with a buyer persona focused campaign is that the value should change when you change from one buyer to another. Let me just show you as an example. So, by the way, a really good way to brainstorm the different value points that you offer a particular buyer, start out by looking at the products that are in this campaign that you're trying to sell, maybe some of the features that are underneath those products or that product, and then from that list, think about how those help that particular buyer persona. So we have an operations manager here, we have some inventory management products. How do those help this operations manager? So if we brainstorm and think, it can help them to decrease time spent ordering, help them to increase ordering accuracy, decrease time gathering information. Now, I want you to stop and realize that those are very specific to the operations manager. Think if we were going to sell these exact same products to a CFO. A CFO might not care about the amount of time spent ordering. They might care about ordering accuracy. That might be included. They might not care about the time it takes to gather information. They might care more about costs and whatnot. So the list of benefits, if we change the buyer, will change. Or, I mean, some of it may stay the same, but some of it may change. And that's where you begin to see the benefits of a buyer persona focused campaign. Now, here again is a screenshot of SalesScripter. So SalesScripter is going to help you to... Now, I just want to point out that all of these steps I'm going to show you here today, you could do with Microsoft Excel and a Microsoft Word document, and you could just take these tactics and take these processes. But SalesScripter does present you with sort of a workflow and interface to take you through this process in a very clean and structured way and give you tips and suggestions. This is a stage of building a campaign where SalesScripter will help you to brainstorm the value points that you offer that particular buyer persona. What you can do with your value points regarding your campaign is you could use it as an introduction to a call script. So instead of introducing in the early part of a call, introducing your company that you work for and the product that you sell, which makes you sound like a salesperson and triggers guardedness, which is what we don't advise you to do, we suggest you hit them with an elevator pitch, and that might include your value proposition. So you might open up a cold call by saying something like, well, hey, the reason why I'm reaching out to you is that we actually help directors of sales to get new salespeople trained quicker. And so that's the way that you open a call. Now, this is actually a portion of a call script that's copied out of SalesScripter. And so what I want to point out is that let's say you create 5 different buyer persona campaigns. You know, a couple of them are targeting different industries, a couple of them are targeting different departments at a company, and then a couple different products. If you can see how this kind of works, you could end up with a different value proposition and different value points for your different buyer personas. So that could be something that's difficult for you to manage in your head and use for yourself, or if you're a sales manager, that could seem like something that's difficult for you to teach new salespeople and to get your salespeople doing. And this is why I'm going to keep showing you a little bit of Sales Scripter. Is Sales Scripter, again, makes it easy because at the top of all of the documents in the library, you can toggle from one buyer persona campaign to another. So once you select the other, your script and your elevator pitch and everything changes over to the next buyer persona that you're pursuing. You can always also use these value points in emails. Instead of sending emails that talk about my company and my products, what we want you to do is to send emails that don't make you sound like a salesperson. We want you to send emails that make you sound like more like an advisor and a consultant. And so that's what this email template does. This actually inserts from your value point brainstorming of that buyer persona. We dump those into an email template in Sales Scripter. And so this email just kind of says, hey, this is how we help sales managers, when you insert the buyer persona description there, and that's an example of how to use value in an email. And again, in Sales Scripter, you can then change the content real easily to the different buyer personas from a quick drop down. Same logic for using a voicemail message. Instead of leaving a voicemail message where you mention your product and your company and beg for a call back, this value message, we're going to tell them how we can help them with our value points. And again, just can flip from one different voicemail script to another when changing buyer personas easily. You can also use your value points as objection responses. And so these are great responses to your sales screening questions that either gatekeepers or sales prospects might use, where they say, what is this in regards to, or is this a sales call? Instead of answering those directly and honestly, answer it with your value statement. Oh, well, the reason why I'm reaching out to you is that we help sales managers to improve sales performance for their entire sales team. The next step is to identify the problems that you help to fix for the different buyer personas. And the common problems that you help to fix, or the pain that you help to resolve, is basically what's not working well or could be working better on the prospect side. And again, the key thing here with buyer persona focused sales and marketing is that these should most likely be slightly different for the different buyer personas. So you go from one industry to another, they're going to be different problems. Even if the problems are similar, the language around them might be slightly different. So when you can tailor that to the buyer persona, you can really, again, improve your ability to communicate clearly, make a better impression, sound like a more sophisticated salesperson. So how we get to a list of pain points that are associated with that particular buyer is we can take the value points that we identified in the previous stage, and then for each of those there should be a related problem that can either be resolved or avoided. We're still with that operations manager, and we have some benefits of we help them to decrease the time spent ordering. Well, a problem that we can associate with that is that they might be spending too much time processing orders. So for each of these, you can kind of think of either the opposite or an inverse relationship. And again, if you kind of follow this workflow, you're going to develop a list of pain points that are very specific to that particular buyer. Again, Sales Scripter can walk you through this process as you're building out that buyer persona focused campaign. It'll bring over the pain points and help give you a place for brainstorming the pain points that fit best. It'll plug all those pain points into different places in the. This is a screenshot out of the middle of a call script, which, depending on how a call goes, you might want to share some examples of common problems that you help to fix. In most call scripts, it's towards the end, and it's optional if you have to get there. But the way it kind of works is that if asking some questions and the call is not really going anywhere, just give them the examples of the key things that you're looking for and that you can help them to resolve, and see if they have those. Pain points also make great prospecting emails. So I could send an email that says, hey, these are the challenges that I know that people like you, and you can insert the buyer persona title, often have challenges with. Pain point 1, pain point 2, pain point 3. I don't know if you're experiencing any of those, but that's why I'm reaching out. You know, that's a really nice advisory, consultative selling approach. Same thing with a voicemail script. These make great voicemail messages. The reason why I'm reaching out to you is I work with a lot of people like you, and they often have this concern, this concern, this concern. I don't know if you're concerned about any of those, but that's why I'm reaching out, and I'll try you again next week. Your common problems also are good objection responses. So if someone says, I'm not interested, you could respond with saying, hey, yeah, I understand. If I could ask you real quick, though, a lot of people that you could insert the buyer persona title there, a lot of directors of sales that I talk with have concerns about this, this, and this. Are you concerned about any of those? The next step in the process is to identify questions for the different buyer personas that can help you to uncover if they have any of those pain points that you just identified. We actually refer to these probing questions as pre-qualifying questions because when I'm talking to a prospect, I want to determine if I should keep talking to them, if I should continue to invest my valuable time with them, either over the phone or if it makes sense for me to schedule a meeting with them. I don't want to have a meeting just to have a meeting. I want to have a meeting with someone who there's a slight chance that they could possibly fit, and we can further qualify later. I will use pre-qualifying questions that probe for the different challenges that I help to fix and see if there's a hint of any of those existing. If the prospect doesn't have any of the challenges that I help with, then I'm going to be wasting my time if I go meet with them. Now, the key thing here is that the pre-qualifying questions could be slightly different when you go from one buyer persona to another or one product to another. So that's why these different campaigns really help you to operate at the highest possible level. Now, your deeper qualifying questions that you can do later in the process that identify if the prospect has budget or if they're the decision maker or what timing they're working against, those could be the same from one campaign to another. But it's those pre-qualifying questions that can be different. And so if we go back to this workflow, we're looking again at that operations manager. One way to identify what should we ask this operations manager to see if we should meet with them, we can look at the pain points resolved, and for each pain point, that can help us to compose one or two or a few questions to probe to see if they have that concern. So if we help to fix the problem of spending too much time processing orders, a good question to ask is, how concerned are you about the amount of time it takes to produce orders? Or are you manually processing orders? Or how much time during the day does it take to process orders? This workflow takes us to an optimum list of pre-qualifying questions. Now notice these questions are targeted to that operations manager because that's a pain point for that particular buyer persona. Now, if we were going through this workflow for a CFO, we would have identified different benefits, different problems, and we would arrive at a different list of questions. Again, in Sales Scripter, it'll take you through a process that will help you to identify the optimum questions, and then those questions are inserted into the library of documents. So this is an excerpt from the middle of a call script, which is where we might drive a cold call toward asking a few pre-qualifying questions. You can also use your pre-qualifying questions in emails. Your pre-qualifying questions also can become some of your best objection rebuttals. If you get the objection of I'm not interested or just send me some information, first of all, if you get I'm not interested, instead of trying to make them interested, redirect to one of your pre-qualifying questions. Oh yeah, I understand, and I'm not trying to sign you up for anything today. So, but if I could ask you real quick, how concerned are you about the blah blah blah? So if they say just send me some information, say, hey, yeah, sure, I'll definitely send you over some info so that I know exactly what to send you. Do you mind if I ask you, how concerned are you about the amount of time it takes to blah blah blah? Your pre-qualifying questions are extremely powerful, and again, what makes them even more powerful is if you have those really tailored for the different buyer personas that you interact with. The next stage is composing building interest points. A lot of salespeople will talk about their company and their products primarily as a way to build interest. You can do a little bit of that, but we recommend some other ways to build interest, such as really focusing the ROI that you have to deliver, explaining how you're different from other options out there, sharing a client story, painting a picture of a future state, discussing the impacts of doing nothing, sharing company facts. Now, a few of those you could end up saying the same stuff regardless of buyer persona when you're like talking about company facts or maybe how you're different. A lot of those, if you develop some content and talk tracks, they might be different from one buyer persona to another. ROI might be different when you go from talking to a manufacturing company to a hospital. Painting a picture of a future state, a client story, you might get some tailored buyer persona points to make there. Credibility, step 5 is creating name drop examples. And so we really believe that one of the best ways that you can communicate to someone how you can help them is by telling them a quick example of how you've helped someone else. And so we kind of have a methodology here. You can answer basically 4 questions. You can insert that into a template that we provide you with to create what we call a name drop example, and it creates 2 sentences. So if you see, here's an example, and the red text is what you need to answer, but you basically need to insert a past client, what you sold them, the initial benefit, and then the ultimate benefit. So when you insert that, you end up with something like this. That's just a really quick, powerful example. That's not going to close the deal or tell the whole story. That's a really great name drop example. Sales Scripter will build that for you. Here's sort of the workflow. You answer 4 questions, and then what it'll do is it'll insert that name drop into different places in your sales script library or your sales pitch. One place, this is actually a call script, and this version of a call script puts the name drop at the beginning of the introduction. So instead of me talking about my company or products, at the beginning of the call I'm going to say, hey, well, the reason why I'm reaching out to you, Jim, is that we worked with so-and-so and we provided them with this. So that's a great demonstration of opening a call with a name drop example. You could also use name drop examples in email templates. Have it at the heart of the email. Now, tying this back to buyer personas, you might want to create different name drop examples for the different buyer personas that you're targeting. So if you're targeting a couple different industries, have a name drop example for the different industries. You might have a large business and a small business name drop example. If you're targeting different departments in a company, you might want to have different name drop examples that fit really well with those different audiences. Name drop examples also make a great voicemail script. Hey, the reason why I'm reaching out to you is we worked with a company like yours by the name of such and such, and we helped them with this. That's why I'm reaching out. I'll try you next week. So makes a really good voicemail script. And the last step in the process is building out objections. Now, objections, we all face a lot of the same objections. What is this in regards to? I'm not interested. Just send me some information. We already use somebody. Now, applying this let me just say this. Your crawl or walk stage will be just that you are prepared for these standard objections out of the gate. And so if you get there, or if you're not there already, if you get to that stage, you'll make a huge improvement. Now, to get running, is creating in terms of the crawl, walk, run. The run stage will be for you to identify maybe some of the custom objections that you might face, and those could be specific to different buyer personas. So if CFO might give you certain objections, an IT VP might give you different objections. A manufacturing company might give you different objections than a state and local agency. Now the good news is that out of the gate, we are going to produce a lot of Sales Scripter will provide you with a bunch of objection responses, because as I pointed out already, you can use your pain points and your pre-qualifying questions as great objection responses, and also your value statement. So the software is going to plug all those in for the standard objections. But what you could do is you could identify any special responses for those different buyers. And so Sales Scripter will take you through a process where you can kind of edit, create objections and objection responses. The end result is something like this. It's what we call an objections map, which is a document that lists out objections and provides you with responses. Again, using something like this will immediately improve your results. This is one way that you can sort of access the information. We also display it in this other format, which is what we call an interactive script. This is sort of a script that you can have up when you're making calls, and it kind of puts everything in one sort of pane of view, and you only see what you need to say next, and you can access voicemail scripts from this interface. You also, on the right side, are your objection responses. Are the objections that you might face, and you click on one of the buttons and you can see a response to that objection. Now, when you're building this comes standard set up with the standard objections, but if you do get it to a sophisticated place where you have your objections that you want to be ready for one buyer persona, and then you want to have your objections ready for another buyer persona, you can customize it to where these buttons are all unique for each different campaign, and when you flip from one to another, that those change on the side, and so that you're ready to go. That's pretty much it. I hope that you can kind of see that building campaigns can make you sound better, make a better impression, communicate more clearly, build more interest, respond to objections better, get in the door, not trigger that I'm a salesperson filter, and help you to improve results. Don't be too intimidated by it. If you like this and you want to do it on your own, just start with one campaign and kind of go through that process. And if you want to, really ramp it up to having a number of different campaigns, keep in mind SalesScripter can help you from a software setup standpoint. But I want to give you some ways that we can help you, and I'm going to give you some free options that we can help you, some ways that we can help you for free, and then some deeper options that you have. The first thing that I would tell you that's at no cost is go to our YouTube channel. There's hundreds of videos on our YouTube channel that are either full sales training webinars or short sales tips videos. When you're there, subscribe. That way, depending on how you use YouTube, you can see when we upload new videos. Just like when we upload this video, if you were a subscriber, you would have been notified of that. I would also encourage you to go to our website and download some of our ebooks. We have do's and don'ts of cold calling, how to get around objections, how to build your value proposition, how to build sales campaigns, how to build email drip campaigns. Those are all free. Then we also have a book you can buy on Amazon called The Cold Calling Equation. The difference between the free ebooks and the paid, the book that you can buy, it's longer, it's a couple hundred pages. The thing that I like about these two different options is that I've downloaded a lot of ebooks, and maybe it's just my style, but I don't get as much out of ebooks as I do out of paperback books, because they either get lost on my iPad or in my email or on my computer, and I just never read them as much. So that's the thing I like about the paperback book. It's something you can print out, put on your desk. If you have employees, buy it for them, put it on their desk. It's designed as a reference manual, so there's a chapter for all the different areas of cold calling. So and there's a chapter for objections, gatekeepers, asking questions, closing, and you don't have to read it from beginning to end. You can go to the chapter where you feel like you need help, and so check that out. We do offer sales coaching and consulting delivered by me, and you can basically purchase it on an hourly basis in different formats. I mean, you can buy a couple hours or blocks hours, and we work together as you need it. We also have monthly subscriptions where we meet every week at a particular time, and so we can either meet for 30 minutes or an hour. It just depends on how much coaching you want. Contact us at info@salescriptor.com if you're interested. We also have a 10-week sales prospecting mastery training program, and if you go to our YouTube channel, you'll see that there's a lot of our content already on YouTube for free. I'm more than happy to provide our training material for free, because we believe if you watch a lot of our videos and use a lot of our tips, you probably should check out our software sales scripter. And so I'm of the firm belief I'm going to give you ebooks, I'm going to give you training videos, I'm going to do webinars at no cost because of the people that because I want you to be a sales scripter subscriber and help you on that side. And if you really love what we provide and use enough of it for free, it would only make sense for you to check out our subscription service. So, but we do offer a structured live training. Even knowing a lot of the materials out there for free, a lot of our clients like this for, let me just share with you a couple reasons. One is you can go to YouTube and there's so many videos that either you don't know which video to watch next, or it's hard to really stay on track with your personal and professional development and continue to progress. I mean, if you're very disciplined, you can, and if you don't want to spend $1, you can, and that's why I put it out there. The nice thing about this program is that we meet virtually 1 hour a week, and we go through a different module or two each week. Now, so what that allows you to stay on track, stay focused, take a bite size at a time, consume a little bit, digest it, then you're ready for the next section the next week. The other thing is that we're going to give you some sort of take-home steps, like some of the stuff that we talked about here today will be, you'll have a few steps to work on between classes, and you'll come back and we'll kind of look at what you worked on, give you some suggestions. So we're going to help you to get a lot of that stuff we showed you today set up, and there's the live sessions provide feedback and opportunity for questions and more interactive. So again, send us an email at info@salescriptor.com if you're interested in that. And if you like the buyer persona approach and you want to start getting some campaigns set up, I would encourage you to start doing that in Sales Scripter. It's going to be easier to extract all of your content from your head and get it together. Sales Scripter is going to basically interview you and help you from as much as software can, walk you through the process and extract all that valuable knowledge in your head, put it together in an organized way, and then put all that into a library of sales tools and documents. So it's a subscription model. You can sign up for 1 month, or you get a discount of over 40% if you sign up for a year. And so be sure to check that out. You can sign up at salescriptor.com. Here's my direct info. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Hope that helps. Good luck and happy hunting.